The state that the presidential candidates really focused on during the campaign was North Carolina. Heidi, Zhou, Castro is live for us in Charlotte. I know you've got a guess, but very quickly, how important a state is this to both campaigns?
Hey, Jane, so this is a must-win state by almost all analysis that I've seen for Donald Trump's campaign. There has not been a Republican who's won the White House without winning North Carolina in the last 50 years. And so it is so important for each and every single crucial vote in the swing state to be counted. The Clinton campaign just released a statement saying it is supporting keeping some polling locations open later, particularly in the county of Durham in North Carolina. That's where there were reports of a software glitch that led to malfunctions in the electronic voting machines. So voters there have been casting paper ballots all day, and that's led to long lines and some reports of people being turned away and asked to come back later. So right now there's actually an emergency meeting of the state board that will determine whether or not to keep those polling locations open later. Again, it boils down to every single vote here in this very, very neck and neck contest between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in North Carolina. Every one of those votes count. And our guest today, Ms. Pam Pearson, she is an election monitor with the Democratic Party. Have you seen anything of concern here at this polling location?
Not really. I mean, for the most part, the main issue we've seen is lots of voters showing up here thinking that this is where they were supposed to cast their ballots and being referred to other polling locations. We think that's because this was a big early voting site in the community. Our early voting sites were limited this year, notwithstanding the court decision, which struck down a big part of the bad voter ID bill.
Right, and just going into that history a little bit, this is the backdrop. Just this year, a court ruled that a Republican-supported law here in North Carolina that required people to present their IDs at the polls was discriminatory. The judge actually said this was a deliberate attempt to suppress minority voters. Do you think that's had any sort of effect on the mentality of voters here?
I think, if anything, it's really energized people. They're very excited about voting. I think they're very excited about supporting Secretary Clinton for president. And a lot of them are very angry about Donald Trump. They think he's a candidate who's stirred up a lot of hatred, and a lot of it's directed at them and other minorities. So I think, if anything, it's energized the voters. A lot of voters coming in here today said things to that effect.
Okay. How late do you think that we will be here today?
I don't think it's going to be too late here. They've been moving the voters through the polls pretty quickly. We haven't had very long lines. We're really just concerned at this point about voters who show up here and it's the wrong polling place, making sure they get to cast a ballot here rather than having to go someplace else and maybe miss out.
Indeed, I just saw your husband actually offering to drive a voter who was in the wrong location, and I know you're very anxious to go back to your voters, so thank you very much for your time, Pam.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And so again, it's just like this last-minute battle, Jane. The very stretch, the home stretch, is what we are in now. Polls in North Carolina at this moment are scheduled to close in about an hour at 7:30 local time, but again, there's that legal battle happening as we speak with an emergency hearing before a judge right now, trying to compel at least one county, the county of Durham, where we saw those voting problems, to keep those polls open longer. Jane.
Thank you for that, Heidi.